Welcome and thank you for joining us. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. Well, it's the 21st of December, the end of the Mayan calendar. We're finally going to discover what is going to happen. Will it be the end of the world like many doomsdayers tell us? Well, I guess we're going to find out by midnight or maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, or who knows. We're going to find out one way or the other. Joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today is someone who's going to be sharing a truth about what this is all about. We're going to be joined with mystic healer Sonia Grace. She has more than 30 years offering her spiritual counseling and processing for people around the world. She's been on our program before, and you can also enjoy her Earthways series, which has many thousands of views on YouTube, so you might want to check that out as well. And I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our special guest, Miss Sonia Grace. Sonia, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you, Dan, for having me on the show.
Now, tell us, what do you see? What's with all this hoopla with the 21st, the end of the Mayan calendar, and who even came up with this kind of stuff in the first place?
Well,
because I got the same reaction from Don Miguel Ruiz last week.
The Mayans had a lot of different calendars, from what I understand, and
right.
they had, there was one particular calendar that came to an end. I believe, and from what I get in terms of my guidance, when I sit in meditation and receive information from my guides and above, is that this marked a time for the Mayan people because they were very sensitive. They were really in tune with the Earth's rhythms. They were much more connected to the Earth than we are today. And I believe that what they were marking in their calendar is the end of an era, meaning we've been in the fourth world or the fourth dimension, and we're now moving into the fifth dimension. And that this end of the calendar was the end of an era.
Right. I know, because I had read, I believe it was Mayan Prophecies, probably 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was an astounding book because the title was very misleading for what the book actually was about, which it was talking about how the Mayans came to do what they did, their calendars and so forth. And they were studying cycles, like off of the sun, so they were really steeped in astronomy. And so when I first began to hear about, the end of the Mayan calendar, watch out, it's the end of the world, Armageddon, and all this nonsense, I'm like, who's making this stuff up? Where's this coming from? Right.
Well, I believe that first of all, the human condition and what we experience on the earth today, within the duality of good and bad and hot and cold and right and wrong, is there's a lot of fear. And that fear definitely catapults some of these ideas or misunderstandings, if you will, of the calendar. So we're trying to find balance inside ourselves. The earth is definitely trying to find balance and is out of balance. And this calendar's coming to an end, and of course everybody plugs into fear and says, oh my God, it's the end of the world, when in fact it's not. This is the end of an era. We've now really crossed the threshold as above 3 or 4 in the morning last night into what is the fifth dimension. And we are now basically in a higher frequency. What that means is, the volume's been turned up.
Oh boy.
Everybody's more sensitive. Everybody has a little bit more of that, telepathic, I think, I can hear you. That's weird. I can hear what you're thinking. I mean, we're much more tuned in. The problem that we face in this higher frequency and this ability of just being more tuned in and more sensitive is that people are moving farther and farther away from their feelings because we're moving more towards technology.
Mm-hmm.
And the real marker in the future is that we do not go so far into technology that we miss what is the human experience, which is to feel our feelings. And we're moving pretty far from that as it is.
I know. I find that astounding because you see it quite often out in public that people are so, I guess, concentrated on their phones and their laptops. Mm-hmm. That's the way they communicate. In fact, there was even a running joke I had at one time being in a restaurant that this is how couples, when they go out to dinner, talk now. They don't talk to each other. They just text each other.
Right. Well, that's why I'm doing this event tonight, the end of the Mayan calendar winter solstice celebration, is because I want people to be with me in person. I want to have that contact, that we are together in the same room experiencing a feeling together instead of, let me call it in or let me write about it on Facebook.
Right.
So, yeah.
Now, what can we expect with today and the future, I guess, in the next several weeks or even months? What will be different, if anything at all?
I think people's experience of their intuition, their sensitivity is going to be more heightened. I believe that there's a lot of people who are so disconnected from that inner compass that it's not going to have a lot of an effect on them. But I do feel that the people who are working on themselves and really making their experience here on Earth as a inner journey will get more and more in touch with a deeper sensitivity and connection to their soul body. Everyone moves into this fifth dimension, so I don't feel that anyone is being left behind. But there is different states of consciousness, as everyone knows, in how we perceive things and how we experience things. As we move into the future, I personally see the Earth, who's gone through the same changes that we're going through, higher frequency, lots of shifts, that she's going to really continue to shift and make movement, meaning earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, because she's trying to get into that new vibration as well. And ultimately, with all of the global warming trend that we're on, for years I've been saying this, but I really see an ice age coming up. And I feel that that's the Earth's way of settling in and taking some time, herself to go into meditation. Nothing like an ice age to go into meditation.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what about, I guess there's so many interesting questions to ask about this, but how about, for instance, society, America? Will there be changes there? The big deal now is the feeling government has gotten too big, that people are feeling more limited in their freedoms, their ability to manifest, for instance. Unemployment, it seems like a big mess. Do we see us pulling out of any of these kinds of things? Or?
I personally see us pulling out of a lot of these things, but it's going to be with some radical movement. I'm certainly not trying to promote that this is going to happen, but it would not surprise me if there was some kind of revolution in this country, because the one issue that I think is going to draw a big line in the sand for many people is the gun issue and what just happened. And this is yet another display of the duality and how split apart we have become.
Mm-hmm.
You got a group of people believing this way, you got a group of people believing that way. We saw that in the election, we've seen that in healthcare, we've seen that in the environment, we've seen it in everything. We're split right down the line, and the duality keeps moving apart, meaning the things that are really good get really, really good, and the things that are really bad seem really, really bad. And it keeps moving apart because we are moving into this higher frequency. And until humanity drops into the center, meaning we figure out that we don't have to invest our energy in the duality. We don't have to send our energy into that stuff. We can simply stay centered and in a state of peace and observe. It's going to keep splitting apart, because that's really ultimately where we're supposed to be. We are already spiritual beings. We're already in that connection, that state of being. But we get so sidetracked from the human experience because we feel and, we're in bodies and we have like this whole experience.
Mm-hmm. What work or responsibility should people take on starting today?
The Earth. That is our biggest that's our biggest hurdle we face in the future. I had a client just the other day. She lives in New Jersey. She said, I got this really nice letter. It was on beautiful paper. It had lovely handwriting, and it addressed me by my first name and said, please don't drink your water. There's a very high level of lead in it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and, she was laughing because of how it was delivered and the way it was written and on the paper and all. But I really feel that is the beginning, and has been the beginning all over the world, that we have serious water issues going on, and they're only going to get worse until we as a human race figure out that there's more to our experience of being here on Earth than just, I've got to pay my bills and make a buck and drive a car.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. Do you think there are a lot of people that kind of really miss the boat, so to speak, because they pursue those things too much?
I do, and it's not that they're at fault for pursuing those things, because we're all so inundated, in various ways throughout different countries, of what is important. But certainly, I feel that with such importance placed upon those things, there are people in the world who are missing a tremendous opportunity. It's even in our own communities, we see people missing that opportunity. I mean, I don't know about you, Dan, but I grew up, my family, we camped. We were big campers.
Oh, yeah.
We went out camping every summer. And it seems like back in those days, that was just the thing that families did, because it didn't cost that much, and, you could go camping. And so we were really close to the earth and really connected to the earth, and that was my playground. I always played outside, and I just feel that there's so many people missing that. They're missing that connection to the planet, and so it becomes easier as these issues crop up, as fracking and water issues, and raping the earth for everything that she's got is happening, and people are removed from it. They don't connect to it because they're not connected to the earth. So I think that the biggest thing, Dan, is the earth. That's what we're facing.
And it seems to me, and it's changing, but sometimes I wonder if it changes fast enough or big enough, that we all tend to want to sit around and point our fingers to say, you need to take care of that. Somebody needs to do something about that, while I sit here, and complain about the fact that something needs to be done. And I know that before you said, look, because we're all spiritual beings, mm-hmm. It's all of our responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's not that you wait around for somebody else to do something. Mm-hmm. If you see or feel the need to take action about a change, then do it. Mm-hmm. Be it and do it. Address that, if you would, for us.
Well, I feel that there are various things that each of us can do. Probably the easiest thing that everyone can do is simply go outside and, put your hands on the earth and share your energy, your love, your prayers, all of those things that you feel inside that maybe you hold in, or you're speaking it out into the air in your car while you're driving. Direct some of it to the earth. She's alive and well, and she has spirit, and her spirit is magnificent. And she told me quite some time ago that, in the old days, people used to bring their prayers and their stories and their heartfelt feelings and their tears to her. And she never once said that it was sad or it was hard that they didn't do that anymore. But she definitely implied it in the way she told me this story. And I thought, gosh, here's this magnificent being that we, in the old days used to really worship and take our energy to her and pay reverence to her. And we don't do that anymore. Many people don't do that, mm-hmm. And they feel that the earth is just here as some kind of, service to them? I mean, I don't get that at all, because she could shake us off in a New York minute.
New York should go with it, actually.
No, I have too many friends there. That's not good. But I feel that people really need to, hopefully, in this new golden era, snap on to what is important. And God forbid that it has to get to a critical state before everyone starts to realize, how this is going. Because seriously, with the water and water issues, we've got to start really minding what's happening with water. And that means just getting involved locally, getting involved with the water boards in your towns locally, getting involved in water projects, water.org, any of these groups that are nonprofit that are trying to clean up water around the world. I mean, all of that is important.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree with you more. I know that in Portland, Oregon, they just recently passed a fluoride in the drinking water, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
why? Who sits around and decides these kinds of things? That a small group of people are going to decide we're just going to put fluoride in the water. And what the intention behind that is, and that there's this debate about whether it's good or whether it's bad, and I'm thinking, but you don't find fluoride in the water.
Right.
But you see these kinds of decisions being made regularly, that there's just this group of people that decides they're going to do something. There's no voting, nobody decides together collectively one way or the other. And, you'd think, what could be done about that?
Right, right. Well, this is basically, humanity having amnesia and waking
selective
up.
amnesia.
Yeah, and waking up and deciding that they really are going to take charge and take some kind of position in their communities. And thanks to the internet, we're global now. And I, in my work, in my world, I so appreciate that, because I have clients all over the world, and I love everyone around the world. But we need to remember our communities, and we need to be involved in our communities. What is that? The statement that's made, act locally, think globally, and that's what we need to be doing, is really getting involved in what's happening with water or any kind of environmental issue in your community. And there's huge environmental groups that if you don't have the time and you're busy working some, crazy job that you're constantly, at work, there's groups that do these things. Get involved with those groups, Give them the money so they can solve these problems. Because we don't, I really feel humanity does not realize what they're facing in the future with this planet.
Now, with this, you say we're moving into the fifth dimension, and that we will probably be a little more psychic. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think people are
now,
going to be a
will
little
this
more
also mean that we can, because these are things that I've noticed personally, is that you tend to manifest a little faster. It's almost like you think something, and then there it is. And I was kind of finding that strange over the last year or so. Like, one of the things I enjoy doing at the end of the evening is working on a crossword puzzle, and I would just be astounded how I could be watching a program on television, and it could be a documentary or whatever, and then all of a sudden there it is, the exact answer relating to exactly what I'm experiencing there. And, the odds were just phenomenal that something like that would converge together on something like this.
Right.
And I found it like, here's another example. All of a sudden I decided earlier this year to watch Dallas, every episode.
Right.
And then I decided also at the same time to read Larry Hagman's biography. I wouldn't have known that he would pass away this year. But, just those kind of odd things. Is that something people will experience, that synchronicity, I guess, or serendipity is going to be more rapid?
I believe so, and I think you brought up a good point about manifestation, and that is that the more that we clean out the resistance, the blocks that we have, the more that immediate manifestation is happening. I'm watching it within my own life, a lot. I'm just manifesting like crazy, and it helps for people who want to have that experience to really let go of the resistance, to let go of whatever it is that they feel that's blocking them. Sometimes we have to just really throw our hands up and turn it over to Creator and the universe and say, okay, it's a bigger plan than what I can really understand right now, so, show me what's happening. Because when we're in our natural state, we are spirits. That is our natural state of being. That's the natural state of almost all life form in the universe. But when we have the opportunity to come through into physical form, it's a big deal, because we aren't naturally in physical form out there in the universe. And so we tend to get, kind of sidetracked, like I said, about, the emotions and feeling and all of the stuff that we go through being in a body. But we also can really get ourselves off track because we have an ego. And there's a healthy ego, and then, of course, there's an unhealthy ego. A healthy ego is that I am who I am, and I'm solid about who I am at a deep place within me. It has nothing to do with the badges that I've earned or the la-di-das of what I've done in my life. It's simply that I am, that I am inside myself. An unhealthy ego would then take us more into the, I am powerful and I am this and I am that. And, there's all of this vibrato around what I am. And when that gets engaged, we forget that we are not only particles of God and the Creator, the universe, but that now we have this experience in physical form that we need to remain humble in. Mm-hmm. That's the real lesson of being in physical form, is that humility is with that experience of being in bodies. Because sure, we can all, spiritually evolve and connect that we're particles of God and we're connected to the universe. But if we take that ego that's not healthy and we run with that, then we misuse the power, basically, that we have in bodies. Mm-hmm. So, we've got a really sophisticated society, and many people aren't going to understand that because they're really locked into the, driving a, Mercedes and having my own plane feels good.
Ah.
Not
that there's anything wrong with that.
Yeah, and there is nothing wrong with that, but if it's being done from a place that is not, walking in that state of humility, it is really going to have an effect on them in their experience of manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that.
Yeah. So what can people do starting today that they can actually do this clearing that you're talking about? What specifically is it should people be paying attention to as far as what to clear out of themselves?
Well, I think forgiveness is the key. I think that when we go back and we forgive the people that we are, at odds with or we've had any kind of conflict with, when we do that forgiveness, we're clearing karma. I mean, that's what forgiveness is all about. Right. Mm-hmm. But I also feel that people need to remember their humble beginnings and put their hands on the earth and realize that they are of the earth and connect with her and connect with their energy, because the earth has energy just like we do. And in the old days, in the days of the Druids and, further back in Egypt, we really accessed that energy from the earth and we gave back to the earth. And there was a real harmonious flow of earth energy moving up through us, the whole connection to Creator, and, right at the heart is the expression of it. And so the more people can really get into, accessing the earth, grounding in her, and giving your prayers back to the earth, I feel it's it's a big step. It's a big step.
Mm-hmm. Huge. So when you have worked with people, and you work with people from around the world when you do your counseling, spiritual mm-hmm. counseling, have you found any common threads that cause people to be stuck, or are they pretty much as varietal as there are people?
I've been doing a tremendous amount of past life work in the last couple of weeks. People wanting to really clear karmic threads before this transition that we're experiencing today. And I just want to reassure everyone that there will be for the next decade a huge focus on transformational work, meaning people really cleaning the inner closet out. Because right. we're gonna all need to do that kind of work in order to be present enough and clear enough about our energy body to help the earth. And we're going to get to a point where we're all really clear we need to help the earth.
Right.
So I think the best thing that people can do is get on that journey, be willing to release the resistances that they have. When you notice you're in resistance of something, you feel like, oh, I'm not going over there, I don't like them, and you hear yourself say that, that's when you go in, that's when you close your eyes and you really check, where do you feel that in your body? Mm-hmm. Wow, I feel that down in my left knee. Okay, well, what is that about? And go into it from a more meditative space, because truly this work and what we're headed for is, and I keep saying this to everybody, it is about us going into meditation. Mm-hmm. In order to really learn this fifth dimension and understand our work in it, it's going to be through meditation. Mm. Yep.
Sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the energy is just phenomenal. And I mean, I woke up this morning and just could hear this incredible sound from the universe that was magnificent. I mean, it was like a symphony going on. And definitely I felt a shift.
Fascinating. Now, Sonia, your website, tell us about how people can find out.
My website is Sonia, SONJA, Grace, GRACE.com. And I've got a really great workshop coming up in January 12th here in Portland, Oregon, called The Future You. And it's all about going into the future and accessing that wisdom and knowledge that we've been talking about and bringing it into the present to help people to really, kind of get into a higher consciousness so that we can really help the earth and be there for the earth. And I would love to have everybody come to that. I'm very excited about this work for this next year because it's going to kind of set the tone and pave the pathway for what we're doing for this planet.
I know I really enjoyed visiting your website at soniagrace.com, especially when people are commenting on how what you have helped them to do has transformed their lives. And it's really exciting to actually see people who speak or write this way, their real creative, loving selves coming out. And I know that sometimes when people, I guess, are first introduced to this kind of work, they think, this sort of airy-fairy ideal, but you're nowhere near that. I mean, you're about as grounded and mainstream as anything I've experienced as far as, broadcasting in the last 15 years. And to encourage people, really jump on the boat here. This is somebody who isn't just going to play around with a magic wand and you're done, but there's work to do. But that work is so worth doing because you realize it accelerates exactly what we've been talking about, the experiences that you want to have more of in your life, whatever it may be. And it's very exciting work that you do.
Thank you, Dan. Thanks. I love what I do, and I'm so happy to help people and to be there, in whatever capacity I can, to be in service. I find it interesting that, no matter who I talk to, wherever they are on the planet, there are very similar stories and similar, threads of what people are going through, and that's fear and unresolved, issues from the past, emotional woundings, stuff in their childhood. I mean, everybody has that kind of story to one degree or another, and it's really incredibly rewarding for me to be able to be a part of their process and help them to work through whatever it is they need to work through, and then clear it karmically and get the energy of it, the actual emotional energy of it, out of their bodies. And it's remarkable, the change and the shift that I see. It's really beautiful.
Very good. And your website again?
Oh, it's Sonia, SONJA, Grace, GRACE.com.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the program and letting us know, hey, the world's going to still keep on spinning after today, so be ready to spin at a higher acceleration from what it sounds like.
Yep, that's right. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you again. We also want to thank you, the listeners out there, for joining us. Be sure to visit us at beyond50radio.com. That is the number 50. And be sure to sign up for our weekly updates. Find out more about what's going on and how you can get involved as well. Again, thank you for joining us. This is the Beyond 50 radio program. Remember, live your day past